Yes. So this is first one is impulsive running away. They just charge off or wandering around the classroom. It's not only special education teachers, it's general education teachers. Teachers suffer with struggle with the children's walking around and then they just leave the classroom without telling the teacher. And all those, that's the number one disruptive behavior. It's a wonder. You will go to the classrooms and then you're going to observe children. You will see that a lot, and I'm going to see this behavior most from your, final project data. So most children have a disruptive behavior. This one is a number one behavior. However, many teachers believe children can sit through. They believe this behavior is their choice to get up and wander around because they don't want to work. That if that's a general education teacher, we understand. However, if a special education teacher think that way, and then, why? Especially ASD children, intellectual disabilities, emotional disturbance, we know that many children actually never learn to sit through those behaviors. Okay, so we have to intentionally teach it. If it's a general education classroom, even special education classroom, you are supposed to work with the individual child because your child IEP is individualized education. Okay, so I'm gonna talk this one later. Let me show you. Where is it? This is IEP. What is an IEP? IEP is FAPE, right? IDEA's first sentence is a FAPE, free, appropriate public education. Special education has most sued by the parents, court cases, and those parents are all sue the school district and teachers for this. That's all. All diverse cases. This is the foundation why parents sue the school district. Because the school district or school or special education teacher does not provide appropriate education for my child. Okay, so each child has an individualized education program. It's not plan, program, IEP, so it's a comprehensive program. Why do we call it program? Because this is a special education curriculum. You guys don't have any other curriculums. This is a special education standard. Okay, this is a special education service. So IEP is what you guys are working right now, preparing for. Special education don't have any grade level required curriculums. General education teachers, they cannot use any other materials but their assigned curriculums. It's illegal. School district can fire that teacher if the teacher does use other curriculums than district chosen curriculums. However, special education teachers don't have a curriculum. It makes you frustrated, to be honest. That's why I'm developing special education curriculum, because we don't have a curriculum. And all those precursory factors you listened and you took quizzes, these are the foundation of my curriculum. Each sensory part, I'm making curriculum, so how you can teach those sensory-based motor skills and those sensitivity, under sensitivity for autism, and that's we don't have those curriculums. Why? Because individualized education is their curriculums. So no curriculum, and then all general education teachers they have standards. That's how school district check teachers' accountability. NCLB, I don't know, 2001, you were probably in elementary school, many of you. So you probably don't remember NCLB, but you heard about NCLB, right? Still we talk about NCLB, no child left behind. And then that NCLB targeted teachers. They said they're gonna check accountability of teachers. And then that means they're gonna check children's academic outcomes, and they don't make academic outcomes, and they will say this teacher is a bad teacher. They're gonna fire that teacher. School district schools has to make yearly. It was really funny, annual progress. So they gave that for 2 years or 3 years, and then they don't make it, and then they close down the schools. So every teacher, when they left for summer, they held a pink slip. Do you know what pink slip is? You're dismissed from the school. You don't have a job. And then in the fall, they interviewed those teachers again and rehired. It was a joke. That much, general education, we understand that because of general education right now, American children's academic achievement is embarrassing. So we understand that. And then we have so many children with disabilities, with high instance disabilities. They are all failed from school education. That is pretty much K second education. They failed early literacy. And then they earned the learning disability, mild intellectual disability, they earned those labels. So this is all about the appropriate education. So they have a standard. Teachers must have accountability. They check based on this standard. They are first grade teacher. All of their students mastered that standard, scope and sequence. Second grade teacher, they met reading, math, whatever subject their students met this standard. So this is a criteria and standard that they measure children math, and then children is in instructional level, independent level, or frustration level. However, special education, we don't have that. Why? Special education is appropriate education means it's individualized education. Okay, so it's this is our ground, and then special education service is pretty much you are the only one service. Other than you are all related services. Okay, special education teachers provide special education service. Other people are all related service. CSD, speech language pathologists, provide communication service. However, that's a related service. Occupational therapy, related services. School driver, school bus, related service. It's all related services. So you guys are doing this special education main service. And the IEP is a special education standard. You guys must follow. You teach children, individual child IEP. Special education curriculum, you teach. Special education criteria. Okay, so that's a special education. Pretty much this information you already know from other classes, and then you know what LEA means. It's a local education agency. So representative means principal. Okay, local education agency and principal, but most of the times you have a difficult IEP meeting, and then I think I told you just invite your supervisor or coordinator, whoever upper level in the district. Okay, if it's a challenging behavior. So that's all about the IEP. It's important. And then what do you do as a special education teacher? This is all yours. What do you do? Pretty much what you do is, where is it? You're gonna draft IEP. I told you that, right? Annually, if you have 10 children, you want to make a 10 children's IEP. You have a 15 children, you have a 15 children's. Resource room teacher has 50 cases, 30 cases. It's based on the school district. And bigger school district, they have a 50, 60 children. That means that they have to have a 50, 60 annual IEP meetings. They have to make all those paperwork. That's why I said special education is a paperwork job. You do a lot of writing, okay? So pretty much this present levels of education, this is the, I believe somewhere I made some nice highlights here. Present, academic achievement and functional performance. So we just say PLAP, okay? So it has two sections, academic achievement, and then it has a functional performance. This is a PLAP, okay? So you do this every year. Child almost before 2 months before child IEP period is due, and then you test the child. Now you have to use a standardized test instrument. So you test the child to know right now how much child can do, the child current level. Are you listening? Child current level. And then based on that, annual goals and short-term objectives. That is a special education teacher's job. These are all you guys decide with, as a team. It's just a check mark based on your discussion. However, these are the creative work. Okay, these are the creative work. So you make a goals, and then you make objectives. So you will learn this from other classes. If you are CI major, and then I teach this, how to make these goals and state objectives or this. And then goals have these 3 sections in the beginning, and condition, and then learning, behavior, and then criteria. And then I just train students given a list of spelling words. You don't say 10 words, 20 words, 30 words. You don't say that. You just a list of spelling words, and then how many? This is objectives. It does not matter what you teach, how you teach, it's not matter. This is what you're gonna do. This, and then we know the child met the objectives or not. Rob will spell the words in writing or orally in case the child cannot write because of that manual 5 motor skill issues, and then no handwriting, and then the child can spell out verbally. Because of this, we don't say 10 words, 20 words, 30 words. Why? Whatever numbers you give it 5, child make a 90% accuracy, correct? And then we say the child met these objectives. And then next year, you're gonna move on to the next one if the child met. If the child is still in progress, and then you're gonna repeat this one in the following year's IEP. Okay, so this is, and pretty much this is Iep target subject. This is pretty much generally, and we have speech language majors here, communication majors here, and then speech language pathologists in school, they do school track, and then they have this one, and then occupational therapists doing this, and then behavior, emotional part, and then mainly special education teachers, you do this ELA and math, mostly ELA and math, and then or functional skills. So functional skill is pretty much adaptable behavior. That is a functional performance here, what we said. So self-independent skills and functional curriculum with communication we talked about, social emotional part. So we have a Vineland here. You may use Vineland to know the child functional level if you work in center-based programs, or some moderate to below severe profound disabilities and multiple disabilities, And then you could do their, functional level with the, Vineland adaptable behavior scale. So I believe if you took 390, SPGN 390, that assessment class, that's what you're gonna learn. Why do you need that assessment class? So I'm gonna explain that quick. However, that's Vineland adaptable, here is adaptable behavior, right? That is pretty much a survival behaviors, survival knowledge. So minimum the child can live independently when they became adult. So basic communication. So receptive, expressive, written communication, right? So they can write a check. Now we don't use a check anymore. However, writing check to pay, it was a big thing in, transition class, and then we taught children with a disability in high schoolers. And then socialization is important, right? And then daily living skills. So it's a person, domestic, community. It's a subsection, so it has, questions. So you can assess children's skills. And then gross and fine motor skill is just addendum. You don't have to do it. So these are basically, we have, and this is the instrument in assessment class too, cognitive evaluation. So I said here, we have a medical diagnosis, and then we have a school psychologist evaluation. If you took 390, it makes all sense. You haven't taken it, hopefully they cover this. So medical diagnosis, ASD, ADHD are medical diagnosis. School psychologists, they don't diagnose this. However, parents bring that medical diagnosis of ASD, ADHD, bring to school. My child is diagnosed with ASD, ADHD. So please give a special education service to my child. It does not mean school will accept it. Okay, this is a medical diagnosis. However, the child has ASD, ADHD, and then with that, school psychologist will evaluate child again. Okay, that is pretty much, we say, is a cognitive evaluation, because we have to evaluate the child again, because this is a medical diagnosis. It doesn't tell anything about education. So we have to diagnose the child to know what kind of services we have to provide to the child with the ASD. Okay. Am I boring you? Are you following me? Or I'm repeating the information you already all know? Okay, no response. Only Fiona said this. So this is a school psychologist. It's only school psychologist can do. It's simply IQ test. However, we call it a cognitive evaluation. This is IQ school psychologist do. However, you guys do educational assessment. That's a special education. So you heard about Woodcock-Johnson, right? You heard about Woodcock-Johnson, Vineland, Peabody, those instruments. Most of those standardized instruments have two sections. One section is a cognitive evaluation section. Only certified person can deliver that test. And then the other section is academic achievement. That is the section you guys will do. And then for the child IEP, you have to do educational assessment. So you can write down, what the child current level is. That's a present level, PLEP. So you can write down that. That's a special education portion. And then school psychologists, they do social cultural assessment. And then they usually deal with the parents. Okay, and then we have a developmental assessment. Any of you are planning to work in early childhood, that's what you guys will do. Okay, and then we have a medical diagnosis, and then DSM. I believe you heard all these stories, things. So can you grasp some, idea about the about this IEP?